In this video, we are going to take a deep dive into the bar muscle up. We're going to run through the most important areas and elements that you need to get a good understanding of if you're going to master this movement. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into it. And speaking of jumping straight into it, that's the first point. When you're jumping up to the bar, you want to make sure that you are jumping up behind the bar. Now, if you have a pull-up bar that is a lot higher than you are, then what I'll typically tell my athletes is simply stack some plates that you can jump from and that allow you to start from a height that makes it easy to then also start behind the bar as you jump into it. And that's point number one. Point number two is that once we then actually get into the bar, we want to make sure that this initial hollow position, or in this initial hollow position, that we keep our feet nice and low. I typically say that you want to keep your feet, if this is the line of the bar, they can either be directly under the bar or slightly behind it. What we don't want to do is lift our feet too high, which is what a lot of people do, and end up having our feet way out in front of that line of the bar. So that's point number two. You want to make sure in that initial hollow position, keep your feet nice and low. It shouldn't feel like a normal hollow in that sense. You should definitely have this sense of keeping your feet lower than usual. And that nicely leads us to point three. The reason that we jump up behind the bar, the reason that we consciously try to keep our feet lower, is because what it allows us to do is lean back a lot more as we swing into that bar muscle. And this is super important because if you don't lean back enough, then you're going to find that you swing into the bar. Whereas if we lean back, what we'll find is that we get this nice swing around the bar that makes it super easy to do the bar muscle. If you're struggling to lean back, if you have this sense of like, I don't have the time to lean back, then what you need to do is you need to go back to that jump up, you need to go back to your hollow position, and you need to study them, because almost all of the time, those are the positions you will be messing up if you struggle with this lean back position or movement heading into the bounce. All right, now from here, we are then, of course, going to pop our hips. We're going to press into the bar, and assuming that we're strong enough, we are going to fly over the bar. I'll make that sound very simple. Obviously, there will be a lot of drills that let you practice this, but that bit is actually a pretty simple part. What you really often need to focus on is nailing the start that allows for the positions that make that final step of popping our hips and pressing into the bar the easy bit. Now, a final extra note to this bar muscle up is that something we also want to be aware of is our tempo. So what a lot of people will do is they will think the more aggressive I am, the better this is going to go. Now, there needs to be an element of being explosive and aggressive, but we need to make sure it's at the right time. So when we get into the bar, it's fine to have a nice big swing, but what I usually tell people is you want to have this feel of being smooth and having a gear left in the tank through basically the entire first half of that jump, kip, lean back. All of that should be with a feel of I've still got a gear left in the tank. And then once we hit this position where we get our feet in front of us, we're leaning back, and we're reaching the point where we want to pop our hips, well, then that's the point where we want to be explosive. And if we nail that timing, it's going to generate a lot of lift, and you're going to find that it's really easy. What a lot of people will mess up is that they will try to be too aggressive too early. They'll jump up to the bar, and then once they hit this position, they'll think, okay, now I've got to be aggressive. And they'll swing their feet through super aggressively. And the issue with that is basically the step that follows, the popping of the hips and the driving over the bar, will lose a certain amount of explosiveness as a result of you starting too early. It's probably the easiest way to explain it. So you want to make sure that you are nice and patient, and that you want to wait till you hit this position before you really think about being aggressive, driving your hips and pressing into the bar. All right, final step in terms of, that's the first rep. Now we want to link them together. The thing you want to be aware of here is very much the same as when you jump into the bar. You don't want to have your feet too high. It's okay to have them a little bit higher, but generally the goal is essentially just to repeat, right? And the biggest step again that people usually mess up is that start position, both when they try to do the first rep, but also when they try to string their reps together. They end up again lifting their feet too high, which makes it really tough for them to lean back, and then all of a sudden they're failing the second rep. So don't do that. Cool. There's the breakdown. If you have any questions, make sure always to write me, and otherwise let's get to work mastering this movement.